I've often been described as an old soul, and therefore have been asked questions like, Raksheen, how do I heal from this? Old souls have this sense of connection that forms within those who need a shoulder to lean on. They don't always have the answer. It always makes me question, why does this individual need me? An 18-year-old kid, I've barely lived my life, and yet others ask me to help navigate theirs, which trickles down into a spiral of my own thoughts. You know the ones. Am I the right person to help? I barely have my own life together. All these questions bring me back to where I began with all of this. It starts when I was a youngin' going from grade 8 to grade 9. Absolutely no idea what I was about to get myself into. I had absolutely no sense of who I was. I didn't know who I wanted to be. I didn't know what I wanted to be. I didn't know what I needed from the world. I was just lost. But the person in me knew that I had a big heart and I wanted to help people. Little did I know that this would come with a massive amount of work, struggle, hardship, and loneliness. But I would get through it, and I'd be standing before you sharing my story. So a very young me in 2016 started grade 9 and brought very little experience to the table. Did not know anything about myself, but I realized that honestly, nobody around me did. And it scared me because I was stressed and anxious about moving forward. Everyone seems to make sure that high schoolers know that there's a massive amount of pressure on them to do well because, in the next couple of years, we'll be going off to university or college. I had absolutely no idea who or what I wanted to be. So how did I go from that to standing here telling you that I am an old soul and I have a pretty deep understanding of who I am, what I want to do, and what my purpose as of right now on planet Earth is? And I'm going to use that to make change. Well, it starts when I start struggling because there is no greater way to learn than to struggle. And school really taught me nothing about who I am. It showed me very little about how to learn about me, how to learn about the heart that lays within. All it taught me was y equals mx plus b. And don't get me wrong, that is important as well. But in no way, shape, or form did it show me that I am kind or that I'm strong or that I am beyond a letter grade. And so when I failed my first math test in grade 9, a solid 31%, as one does, it began that downward spiral that I am a failure, that I'm not going to succeed. I'm not going to go to university. I'm going to disappoint my parents and be a disappointment to my family. And honestly, I didn't know where I was going to go from there. I had absolutely no idea that I was capable of bouncing back. And to be honest, I didn't feel as though that I was worthy of bouncing back. And I won't lie, I was quite scared of bringing home the news to my parents, my very traditional Pakistani parents. But I had a conversation with my parents, and my dad brought up this very kind of hilarious speech about when there's a will, there's a way. And he didn't say much more than that, but he repeated the words about 50 more times. When there's a will, there's a way. And I took to heart what he was saying, because in that moment, what I needed was some form of motivation to keep going, to keep trying, to keep making mistakes, to keep learning, to keep going, to keep evolving. Because I knew that my end goal was to help people. And in order to do that, I would have to learn and I would have to struggle and I would have to have really awkward speeches from my dad. I was able to take this advice that he had given me and use it in a multitude of different ways to get through grade 10. And I won't lie, it was honestly my favorite year of high school because everything was easygoing. There's very little friend drama, very little high school drama. And I was successful in my academics and my extracurriculars. I was giving speeches and I had found such a thorough passion for mental health. Little did I know that I struggled with my own mental health. This time I'd been diagnosed with depression. At first, I didn't know what this meant for me. I didn't know where I would go with this, and I didn't know how I'd keep moving forward until a very special teacher told me that there's absolutely nothing on this planet that will stop me from making great change in the world. And from there, I was able to connect to resources within the community that would help guide me in a positive direction and allow me to continue on my academic pathway in a great way. However, this did not last long because along came grade 11, which is infamously known as the hardest year of high school, by the way. And let me just say, that is honestly the truest thing anyone has ever said to me. Grade 11 was the year where I felt I had hit a wall in terms of personal growth, in terms of academic growth, and I did not know where I would be going from here. Soon after, my grades started struggling, my friendships started struggling, my extracurriculars started struggling, and I really felt as though that I had reached my fullest potential in the 11th grade. The thing that got me through was not a specific classroom, not a specific idea, not a specific topic in a classroom, but rather it was the passion that I had to make positive change on this earth. It is so often a thing that is forgotten in schooling because we are so bombarded with content after content that we forget that we are human beings. We are creatures of curiosity that have so much more worth than that of a classroom, than that of an economy, than that of a society. We are individuals that have so much potential, but are limited by the four walls of our educational settings. I'm eternally grateful for the people that I had surrounded myself with in high school because they had pushed me to go ahead and fulfill the passion I had for mental health. I worked hard to make sure that my friends knew, to make sure that my peers knew all of the resources within the community that would help me make this change. This passion is what got me through grade 12. And this was a big year because I was applying for university. I knew who I was, I knew what I wanted to be, I knew how I wanted to make change in the world. I wanted to ensure that the future educators made it so that the next generation had the ability to fulfill their passions within the four walls of our educational settings. Because no child should ever feel as though they are not good enough in a setting where they are taught exactly why they are enough. They have the vessels to create change in our tomorrows. So throughout grade 12, I was coasting. I was enjoying the fact that I knew what I wanted to do. I applied to university and I got into exactly where I wanted to go. With the goal in mind that I wanted to curate positive change amongst a younger audience, I figured out that teaching was my pathway. I wanted to be around the generation that would make tomorrow so much better, so much happier, and so much more positive. As an advocate for education, and as an advocate for mental health, and as an advocate for emotional intelligence, there's something to be said about the lack of emotional intelligence and awareness that is taught within a classroom. Classrooms are where we foster the greatest amount of academic learning. But that is also where our students learn who they are and how they want to create change in the world. There is an utter lack of how we teach our students to understand who they are. And throughout my story, this became more and more prevalent, which is why I stand before you at York University, studying to be a future educator and ensure that the children of tomorrow have the educational settings where they are able to meet and fulfill their fullest potential and ensure a smarter and well-rounded group of students making our tomorrows better. Thank you.